Every form of racing has its icon. For open-wheel racing, it's Indianapolis. For NASCAR, it is Daytona. And for personal watercraft racing, it is the waters that separate Arizona and California named Lake Havasu. Here, the best watercraft racers in the world gather annually to battle for the title of World Champion. Stay with us for the Skat Track World Finals from Lake Havasu City, Arizona. You are looking at beautiful Lake Havasu City, Arizona, site of the 1996 IJSBA Skat Track World Finals, presented by West Coast Performance Products. Hello again, everyone. Todd Harris along with Chuck Kunson. For the next hour, you will see the best of the best. We have over 680 competitors coming from 35 different countries to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and over this weekend, over $120,000 will be awarded. Alongside me, as usual, Chuck Kunson. Chuck, the scoring is the same we've seen all year long on the national tour.
All qualified competitors must race in both motos. The results of both motos are combined. That determines the overall world champion.
Speaking of world champions, the two men probably to watch for today in the runabout class. That man, Chris Fischetti, living right here in Lake Havasu City, Arizona. 1996 Pro Runabout National title. The man whose title he'd like to take away, the defending world champion, Minoru Kanamori.
Well, Kanamori led almost the entire national tour. At the very final round, he didn't qualify. Fischetti won both motos and claimed the national championship. Kanamori would love nothing more than to claim a three-peat.
Well, Kanamori has the experience. Fischetti quite possibly has the momentum. As we look to the course, Chuck, it is basic.
It's a lot simpler course than what we've had in past years. The riders take off from the beach and they head out into that big left-hand sweeper. Drops them to the option side of the course. The riders have the choice. They can take the outside section of the split or the inside section of the split. That brings them through the merge buoys onto the front straightaway, brings them onto the right-hand side of the course with that inner loop section through the course right there. This kind of breaks up their momentum, and it makes things a little different. It used to be a wide-open backstretch. This actually makes it 3 short stretch sections.
Almost 15,000 people have made their way to the shores of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, each one pulling for their specific rider, and we are set to race. Once again, Tom Bonaci will carry the onboard camera on the West Coast Prepsito. This is it, moto number 1. Well, the whitewater settles, and on the outside, Chuck, it looks like Chris MacCluggage is going to take the whole shot, but Chris Fischetti is right on his heels.
Well, they were using the split section of the course is where it's going to come out. MacCluggage went to the outside, Fischetti the inside. Here comes that merge in, and MacCluggage cuts him off.
Chris MacCluggage, boat number 4, the ProTech Yamaha, just edges out Chris Fischetti. And this is a great way to start moto number 1.
Well, everybody's been saying it's going to be Chris Fischetti. Chris Fischetti's the man to beat this weekend. It's been the feeling in the pits all weekend long. And Chris MacCluggage comes out and shows strong effort on the ProTech Yamaha.
Kawasaki, Team Kawasaki running 3 and 4. Bill Pointer in 3rd, and the defending world champion Minoru Kanamori sits currently in 4th place.
For Minoru Kanamori, this has got to be a disappointing start to this moto. I know he'd hoped he would be farther up in the pack, challenging the front riders.
Well, it always comes down to the start. Let's go back to the start and see just what happened.
Well, the starts are very critical, and right here we're going to see how Tom Bonaci basically loses a world championship. You look on the lower right-hand side of the screen, or the right-hand side, you can see Bonaci standing up on the boat with his hand up in the air trying to get the starter's attention. The line goes off. A 2-minute hold had been called for earlier, and evidently all the time had been used up or not enough was left. And Bonaci, as you see the line go away, is left sitting on the beach.
Tom Bonaci sits in 16th spot, and his boat does not sound good.
You could hear it right there. The power would just drop off on the boat. It'd be up on plane, running fine. Then it just sounded like water or something getting into the carburetors, flooding it out.
Meanwhile, the boat underneath Chris MacCluggage seems to be running just fine, as he is our current leader in moto number 1. The young man out of Naples, Florida, the 1990 Pro Sport World Champion, and there's nothing he'd like better than to add a runabout world title to his resume.
This young man has captured titles in just about every area of watercraft racing. The only one that's eluded him so far is runabout.
We'll have more racing from Moto number 1 right after this. The Skat Track World Finals are brought to you by Skat Track, the impeller experts, and by West Coast Performance Products, better by design.
You want to get a to my friend Jenny? Lisa, this tip.
Third place.
Hi, Ma.
What are you gonna get?
Welcome back to Lake Havasu City, Arizona in the 1996 IJSBA Skat Track World Finals. Todd Harris along with Chuck Coots, our current leader in Moto number 1, Chris MacCluggage in second place, Chris Fischetti.
The Yamaha and the Sea-Doo right now look evenly matched. MacCluggage on the Yamaha, Fischetti on the Sea-Doo. Both seem to be working just about fine. Opposite sides of the splits don't have any effect. Fischetti is staying right there.
15,000 fans on hand to watch the action. 38,000 over the last 4 days, so a lot of interest in this sport as Chris MacCluggage continues to slice through this course.
Watching Chris Fischetti go down the back section of the race course, they've got the rocket ship racing Sea-Doo trimmed out very nicely. It gets real choppy on the backside here, the Lake Havasu water. Fischetti keeping that boat hooked up real well.
And Chris Fischetti doing a good job staying within striking distance of Chris MacCluggage. You never know when something can happen, and by staying in second place, he really leaves himself open to still win the title in the second moto.
Again, if you watched right there, that time MacCluggage went to the inside section of the split, and Fischetti took the outside section. Again, they came out about the same distance apart, so these two boats right now in horsepower are real close together.
Well, and you know what else is interesting, Chuck? Almost the entire race, Chris MacCluggage and Chris Fischetti have stayed the same distance, not much.
Well, they're right about 1 second apart, and that's been staying within about a half second either way. So anywhere from a half second to a second and a half is all MacCluggage has been able to keep away from Fischetti.
Currently riding in third place, the defending world champion Minoru Kanamori, boat number 1 on the Kawasaki Team Kawasaki. He moves ahead of fellow teammate Bill Pointer, who goes to 4th. And for Minoru Kanamori, a man who's been involved in the inception of the Kawasaki Team Kawasaki, he's a lot more than just a rider. He is very prepared.
After jet jump, we've been looking for the more stability and especially good for the behind somebody. So we got we find some idea. So we got some improvement. So I think pretty good. I got some improvement also, and also need I don't know. I just do same with as usual. Then keeping my pressure down.
You heard him mention there that stability is the thing that they've worked on since Jet Jam to get here to the World Finals, but trying to pin Kanamori down to specifics is next to impossible.
Kanamori's teammate Bill Pointer, boat number 6 on the Kawasaki Team Kawasaki, moves into 4th place with Victor Sheldon, his other teammate, now in 5th.
Back on the split section, of course, Chris MacCluggage encountering lap traffic. That's Tomatsu Yamada, the Japanese national champion on the Japanese Team Kawasaki machine.
Well, it's all about overcoming challenges and obstacles, and right now it's lap traffic. The next obstacle for Chris MacCluggage. Chris Fischetti will also have to overcome those as well. And right now it looks like MacCluggage has got a little bigger of a lead over Chris Fischetti.
I think by my calculations, Chris MacCluggage has stretched another second into this, so it's starting to make things look good for MacCluggage.
Chris MacCluggage is absolutely flying out there. And we talked to Scott Watkins, the former freestyle specialist now at the Yamaha race team, and he said the main focus of Yamaha, Chuck, was going to be horsepower, and it looks like it's paying off. On the flip side of that coin, it's Tom Bonaci, the West Coast Sea-Doo. Problems from the start, Chuck, and it doesn't look like it's gotten any better.
Well, we've already documented that he got off to a terrible start. Now his problems are just compounding themselves. Leaders are just going by him. He moves over to get out of the way. There you can see Fischetti going by. Engine just sounded terribly rough. There's just not the power there. This boat's not working right.
Meanwhile, Chris MacCluggage continues to lead Moto number 1. When we come back, we'll have the conclusion of this race. Stay with us.
Can you give me an idea of the Kawasaki approach to the 1996 World Finals and how you feel the team stands?
Well, Chuck, I think that we have a good shot at winning this thing. We got the top riders. We got Victor Sheldon, the last year's national champion, this year's national champion. We got Connor Morey, two-time world champion. We got Billy Pointer, the upcoming champion. So, I think we have as good a chance to win here as anybody. Since they started the new sit-down class, or the runabout class, Kawasaki's won it every year, the last 4 years. So it's kind of a tradition for us, and we definitely expect to win.
Welcome back to beautiful Lake Havasu City, Arizona. We are in the midst of Moto number 1, 1996 IJSBA Skat Track World Finals. And this is the final lap. Our current leader, Chris MacCluggage, got it from the start and hasn't let go. In second place, Chris Fischetti out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona, trying to find a way to get around MacCluggage, Chuck, but as of yet, he hasn't found that way, and he's only got one more lap to try and get it done.
Well, if he's going to get it done, he's got to do it now. MacCluggage has shown dominance through this whole moto. The boat not showing any signs whatsoever of anything going wrong. Turns himself onto the backstretch, starts heading down the backstretch.
Well, Chris MacCluggage will take a huge step towards a world championship if he can just hold off Chris Fischetti for half a lap.
Working their way into the split section of the course for the last time. MacCluggage is going to take the outside split. Fischetti to the inside. MacCluggage working his way around. And something's gone wrong. MacCluggage is thrown off the seat.
Chris MacCluggage bogs down momentarily, and it is the Flying Fish who takes the win in Moto number 1. So with only 50 yards to go, Chris MacCluggage has a mechanical snafu, and it spells doom for him, but it spells big victory for the Flying Fish, Chris Fischetti.
Well, this wouldn't be called an upset, but it sure is a surprise finish to an excellent, excellent race. Well, take a look back at Chris MacCluggage as he works his way around that last turn. Right there, he knows he's got a problem. He rips the seat off the boat. The only reason I can figure he's got to tear that seat off is to get that engine to breathe. It would make me think that exhaust is the problem. Something came apart in the exhaust system. Here you're going to get a look at Chris Fischetti.
And he looks over and gets the surprise of his life, automatically goes to the Victor Sheldon Spawn Superman, and Chris Fischetti picks up a huge Moto number 1 win. Final results for Moto number 1 Pro Runabout look like this. Fischetti, MacCluggage, Canamori, Pointer, and Nicolas Rius rounds out the top 5. So Chris Fischetti is having quite a day here, as is Chris MacCluggage. They're both also involved in the sport class racing. Before we go any further, let's have a look at that.
Regarded as a hybrid of the stand-up and sit-down style watercraft, the sport class boats bring with them the best of both classes. The lightweight and agility of the ski, and the top speed and cornering ability rivaling runabouts. And great racing is the results.
Starting with Moto number 1, Micro Missile Dustin Farthing picked up where he left off on this year's Budweiser Jet Sports Tour, where he won 8 of the 10 stops on board his Riva Prep Yamaha. That left last year's world champion Tom Bonaci to fight it out with Chris MacCluggage. MacCluggage won that battle and immediately put the heat on Farthing. An inside pass on lap number 2 flustered Dustin so badly that 2 buoys later, he lost his composure completely. But that was just the beginning of the end for him. His boat completely expired on lap number 6, making him an extremely unhappy front row spectator.
Meanwhile, last year's national champion Chris Fischetti held down a rock-solid second in front of Big Red Racing Sea-Doo pilot Nicolas Rius. Nicolas's intensity was obvious and maybe a bit excessive, as efforts to pass Fischetti did a lot more harm than good.
MacCluggage rode a perfect race, making a Moto 1 win look easy. Moto 2 would be a time for revenge, but not for everyone. Rick Quelch fought hard to get the hole shot over Tom Bonaci on the West Coast Performance Sea-Doo. Tom had finished 5th in Moto 1 and looked good for a top 3 finish. This was not the case for Fischetti, who fought hard to overcome a bad Moto 2 start. However, up front, it was the Mac Attack who was on Quelch. The 1996 Sport World Champion Chris MacCluggage has got to feel good to have that #1 back on that Protec.
Yeah, it does. It's been 3 years in the making for this Sport World Championship. The first year we broke a throttle cable, second year we broke a nozzle, and this year we were flawless. And I just got to thank God, Protec, my parents, my dad, this guy. He put me through college, but a different kind. It was a college of personal watercraft racing. And then Yamaha took it from there, and Protec, and I just want to thank them all. They're all great help.
Standing beside Chris is one happy dad. Mr. MacCluggage has been behind Chris through his whole racing career, 100%.
When we come back to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, Moto #2, Pro Ski. Right now in sport class racing, the boss is Chris MacCluggage. This is his machine. This thing flies. Welcome back to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, in the IJSBA Skat Track World Finals. Todd Harris along with Chuck Coots. Moto #2 of the Pro Ski Division is getting set to go, and another world title is on the line. Before we call Moto #2, let's show you the action in Moto #1 and how it all shook out.
In Moto #1, it was Todd Ross who nailed the start to claim the early lead. He was followed by Jacobs and the hard-charging Rob Flores. Halfway through the first lap, Flores passed Jacobs for second with an aggressive turn.
The following lap saw Derek Kapler almost take out Jacobs in the same spot on the course. Shortly after that, Flores passed Ross on the backstretch to take the lead. In lap 8, Jacobs caught Ross to move into second, and then in lap 10, Flores' motor gave out on him, which left 5-time world champion Jeff Jacobs to take the win. Musataro Takanoshido put in a strong ride to finish second, and Tera Crismon rode like a madman to pick up 3rd place. So the stage is set. We are ready to go racing Moto #2 in the ski division. All eyes are on Jeff Jacobs, who has the pole position on the left side of your screen.
And around that first turn, it's the Riva Yamaha back jamming Jeff Jacobs in the #1 spot, looking for that 6th World Championship. And in second place, Derek Kapler on the factory pipe Yamaha, right behind him coming through the split section of the course.
So it's possible history being made here as Jeff Jacobs tries for #6. This guy has been here so many times, Chuck. Experience undoubtedly on his side.
This has got to feel real sweet for the Jammer, being out in front, going after that 6th Pro title. But in front of that, you add an Expert World Championship, and in front of that, back when novices used to win world titles, Jacobs claimed that too.
Well, Jeff Jacobs has been through some lean years the past few years. He is back on top once again and doing what he does best, leading a moto here at Lake Havasu City, Arizona. Meanwhile, back in the pack, Musataro Takanoshido moving from 4th into 3rd, getting past the Australian champion, Todd Ross. So Takanoshido wasting no time getting familiar with the international contingent as he settles into 3rd and goes to the outside section of the split.
Already working their way down the front side of the course, Jacobs and Kapler, and again, Jacobs shuts the door on Kapler as they work their way around into lap #2.
Back to the start, we see Jeff Jacobs on the top of the screen, gets a great drive, and he's one of the fastest riders to jump up in the tray, and that shifts all the way to the front. He picks up another hole shot.
Jacobs just so clean as he goes around that sweep, staying tight on the buoy. Nobody else has a chance to get underneath. And Jeff just gone as he heads to the split section of the course.
In second place, Derek Kapler from Saddle River, New Jersey, last year's Expert National Champion, really getting his feet wet here with competition going up against the Jammer.
Jacobs heading down the backside of the race course, looking nice and smooth as he works his way around. Riva Yamaha working great for him. Kapler comes in right behind him. They go to the split sections of the course, start working their way down through.
Kapler's got a nice riding style himself, looking very smooth. And Jeff Jacobs having a few bobbles right there. And that opens the door just enough for Derek Kapler, who takes the inside section of the course and gets ahead of Jeff Jacobs.
So the tides have turned. Kapler comes up in the #1 spot. Jacobs back to second. However, Jacobs still in the driver's seat for that 6th world title.
Jeff Jacobs won Moto #1. Derek Kapler got 15th, so Jeff Jacobs very much in the driver's seat. We'll have more of pro ski racing after this.
Tim, give me a little idea of the focus of Yamaha and Riva Yamaha coming into the 1996 World Finals.
We're focused on getting all of our guys in the final, which we've done pretty well, and now we have to focus on being reliable. We're running 18-lap races out there, and you got to finish to win. We usually set them up here a little bit more on the edge, but yet, 18 laps, you still have to be reliable. But we try to squeak them about as tight to the fine line as we can walk on it, and hope they last all 18 laps and take home some championships.
We are back to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, Pro Ski Moto #2. That is Jeff Jacobs, the 5-time world champion, working on #6 here this year in 1996. He is in first place, being followed by Derek Kapler, who has slipped to 2nd place. And for Jeff Jacobs, this is such a sweet return to the spotlight. After years of going the privateer route, he has now found a great ride with Riva Yamaha back on top. Derek Kapler, in his rookie year, doing quite a job. But the story of the hour is Tera Crismon competing in not only 1, but 2 ski divisions.
Tera currently running in 10th place in the pro ski class, has already run double duty. She's run 2 12-lap motos in the women's and an 18-lap pro ski race previously.
Well, Tera Crismon is the picture of endurance, doing quite a job out here in the pro ski division, as she does in the pro women's ski division. Speaking of the women's competition, we have some of the best in the world competing here at Lake Havasu City, Arizona. The Pro-Am Women's Runabout competition made its 2nd showing at the World Finals. An international contingent was present as MaryAnn Sexton of Florida gained the first hole shot. In lap #7, Mary relinquished the lead to Kelly Kurpil. Kelly also felt the pressure from 2nd place Karine Patural, the defending Pro Women's Runabout champion. Try as she might, Karine could not overtake the lead as Kelly finished first in Moto #1.
By virtue of the Moto1 win, Kelly would sit on the pole, but Jennifer Jeppson of California gained the hole shot with Kelly behind in 2nd. Jennifer was in total command until her boat momentarily stalled. Kelly's 2nd place had its advantage as she moved right into the lead. Kelly kept this lead until lap 6, where she experienced difficulties dropping her back a few positions. Karine, who was right behind in 2nd, got the break she needed. She took the lead all the way to the finish, winning a 2nd consecutive world title in the women's runabout division.
Had a great race. It's very good because I'm world champion and I need this. I'm very happy I can keep my plate #1 and prove one more time that Sea-Doo is the best boat in the world.
Overall results look like this: Patural, Kurpil, Countryman, Jill Borowy, and Jennifer Jeppson. In the Pro-Am Women's Ski Division, Tracy Kohl of Nevada made a fine showing against the powerhouses of Christy, Carlson, and defending world champion Tera Crismon.
In Moto #1, Tracy gained the hole shot with Christy close behind in 2nd place and Tera in 3rd. Tracy's lead was short-lived, however, as Christy managed to pass at the split. Tera made her way up from 3rd place to challenge Christy for the lead on lap #7. She made her move and went on for the Moto1 win.
In Moto #2, it was Tracy Kohl once again gaining the hole shot with Natalie Clark of Arizona in 2nd. However, neither Tracy or Natalie could hang on to their positions. Tera Crismon on board her ProTech Yamaha was having a more difficult time moving up the line. In lap number 2, she managed to move up to 3rd place. In lap number 4, she moved into 2nd, right behind the leader, Christy Carlson. With 8 laps remaining, Tera tried hard to catch Christy, but it was apparent to all that this was Christy's race to win. Winning moto number 2 on board her Yamaha R&D Body Aid ride, it was Christy Carlson who made the comeback, earning an unprecedented 6th win as the Pro-Am Women's Ski World Champion.
Words cannot explain it. I am so happy right now. Tera is a tough competitor, and my hat's off to her. If it wasn't for her, this championship wouldn't mean as much as it does, because it was hard-earned. So my goal for this year is to motivate a lot of young people with this championship, tell them that they can do it too.
Congratulations to Christy Carlson and tuner Bill Chapin at R&D Racing. We are back to the Pro Ski Division. Moto number 2, Jeff Jacobs is our current leader. Boat number 5, the Riva Yamaha out of El Cajon, California, looking for world title number 6.
Christy's already claimed her 6th. This would put Jacobs on a par with Christy. Just think about it, Todd. 6 world championships.
Jeff Jacobs looking stellar after a big win in moto number 1, looking good here in moto number 2. Meanwhile, back in the pack, the battle is on for position number 2. It's Derek Kapler, Takanoshita, and Todd Ross all bunching together trying to track down that 2nd place spot, but it looks like Kapler will hold on.
Kapler showing real good form out on the race course, able to keep Takanoshita behind him.
Course starting to get a bit choppy here at Lake Havasu City, and Derek Kapler makes a small bobble, and the Japanese champion Musataro Takanoshita moves into 2nd place.
Out onto the backside of the race course, Takanoshita opening up a big lead now over Kapler, back into 3rd, and hard on the gas trying to catch Jacobs.
Well, Jeff Jacobs has been here to Havasu, seen it many ways. It used to be, Chuck Kuntz, that the ski division was king of the hill, and Jeff Jacobs was sitting on top.
You talk about the king on top of his throne. Jacobs, back in the days when only the skis were the only thing present, he was on top of his game, the best rider I think I've ever seen out on a race course.
The white flag is out. Jeff Jacobs is 1 lap away from getting his 6th world title. Meanwhile, Derek Kapler has come off his ski. He loses a position to Todd Ross. If he hurries, he can get back on, but Ross now picks up 3rd. Kapler will slide back to 4th, but that's if he gets back on and gets back on the course.
Gets that boat fired up and gets back underway. The damage, though, has been done.
So it's Jacobs, Takanoshita, Ross, then Kapler in 4th. But for Jeff Jacobs, Chuck Kuntz, you've been around this sport long enough. We've seen this before. Jeff Jacobs, the final lap in a ski race and a world title on the line.
I think back to many smiles I've seen when Jeff Jacobs is finished here at Havasu in a world championship position. I can only imagine the smile that's about to break out on that young man's face in just a few seconds.
So Jeff Jacobs will take home his 6th world title here at Lake Havasu City, Arizona. So the final results in pro ski look like this. Jeff Jacobs takes the win. He is followed by Takanoshita, Todd Ross, Derek Kapler, and from Great Britain, Jonathan Rolfe. When we come back to the warm waters of Lake Havasu, we'll talk with Jeff Jacobs and have a look at freestyle. Welcome back to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, where moments ago a victorious Jeff Jacobs rung up his 6th world title in the ski division. Our overall results in the ski division, it's Jacobs, Takanoshita, Ross, Jonathan Rolfe, and Travis Dew Temple.
You know, right now, none of it compares to what I just did today. You know, all my life I've been riding Kawasaki's, and thanks to Yamaha and Riva Yamaha, gave me the pleasure of coming out here and riding a Yamaha Superjet this weekend, and on the Nationals, and to win it, National and World this year is, I don't know, I can't find the words to describe it.
So a speechless Jeff Jacobs counts them off on his hand. That's 6 world titles for the man from El Cajon, California. Congratulations to Jeff Jacobs and the entire Riva Yamaha team. We are nearing the most important race of the day, Pro Runabout Moto number 2. Wrenching is going on in the pits. Before we get to that race, let's have a look at the most exciting division here at Lake Havasu, the freestyle competition. One fact is undeniable, freestyle is alive and well. Last year's competition produced an international sweep with the top 3 places going to competitors from outside the U.S. This year, the international contingent was even stronger.
The judging criteria is the same from the National Tour. You have 7 judges scoring 0 to 10 points. You throw out the high score and the low score. You add the remainder scores together, perfect 50. Judges are looking for execution, variety, and difficulty.
Once again, our 10 invitees to Lake Havasu City, Arizona brought about a very international flair, with 6 of the 10 coming from outside of the United States. Canada, Brazil, England, Japan, France, and Germany were all represented.
Finishing in 4th place, Douglas Carvalho of Brazil, the Brazilian champion. A protege of Dave Gordon. Dave Gordon taught Douglas a lot of the tricks that initially brought him into the freestyle competition.
Finishing in 3rd place from Athens, Georgia, USA, Kenneth Wood with 48.7 points.
Having a freestyle team just boosted me up there. I practiced, after the Nationals, and, God was with me today, and I'd just like to thank all my sponsors, Moby's, Solos, Hydro Turf, my girlfriend. Without them, I wouldn't be here.
Finishing in 2nd place, 2-time defending world champion Mark Sickerling of Germany with 48.8 points.
And this year, going together with our team, the Piranha Brothers, we trained together and we improved. Everybody improved a lot. Ken got 3rd, I got 2nd, my other team member won yesterday, so we have been really successful.
And the new freestyle world champion from Canada, Rick Roy, with a total of 49.3 points.
Yeah, I'm so happy. It's my 4th year here, and this year I got it. I got the 2-time national champion. I couldn't get my hand on the world title, but now it's done. We were working pretty hard on the new routine, and we work on new tricks. I knew I had to do real good because everybody else would do a perfect routine, and it's done. I'm happy.
Congratulations to Rick Roy. Our final results look like this. It's Roy, Sickerling, Wood, Douglas Carvalho, and Eric Malone.
Our new world champion is as much a giver to the sport as a recipient. As a major innovator of contemporary freestyle moves, he is currently unsurpassed. It is no surprise then that his stellar performances team up with his movie star looks and friendly personality to make Rick one of the most popular competitors in the sport.
Yeah, it's just a great feeling for me. You can't imagine what kind of feeling you have when you're in front of a big crowd and you do your good tricks and all the crowd's on fire in front of you. It's just such a great feeling because I think I'm kind of a shy person, and when I go out there, I just express all my feeling, and to have the response of the crowd, it's great. My goal have always been to be national champion, and I got it twice It's I think I just reached my goal, but it's not done. I wanna be world champion, and next thing I want to work on it's to build a new image of me, of a surf rider. I want to spend a lot of time because I got such a great feeling when I'm on the ocean and ride those big waves. And I want to spend a lot of time in there and start to do video and filming. And I just finished my own video. It's just out now, and we had a great time making it. And I want to start to do so much more.
A fireman by trade, Rick has become one of the hottest commodities to sponsors and the coolest of competitors to the masses. Congratulations to our new freestyle world champion.
When we return, it is the final and deciding moto for a possible new world champion in the runabout class as the Skat Track World Finals roll on.
Is that a scare or what out there running in second place, having to look at MacCluggage's back for 17 laps and then down the front straightaway?
Yeah, no, it was really good. I was riding right there. I drove on him, I drove on him. All I could do is push his equipment. That's what it's all about, putting all your eggs in one basket, making it go really fast, riding it clamped, and then hopefully it pulls through at the end. And my Sea-Doo did just that.
Moto 2 coming up. You got anything new for him or just going out there to go for it?
Well, I would just, I'd really like to get this overall. Like I said, I've sat pole position the last 2 years in a row. This is third. Haven't been able to quite come through due to unlucky circumstances. No unlucky circumstances today. I'm just going to go for the overall. But being on pole, if I get out in front, I'm going to take this thing all the way to the end.
Welcome back to the warm waters of Lake Havasu City, Arizona for the 1996 IJSBA Skat Track World Finals. Todd Harris along with Chuck Kuntz, and we are set to go. The final race of the day, Pro Runabout Moto number 2 on the pole, Chris Fischetti.
There we go. The bomber, Tom Bonaci, breaks out of the pack, the #1 spot. He goes from a 15th place finish in Moto number 1 to the leader of Moto number 2.
So Tom Bonaci takes the lead as they go into the green flag lap in second place. It's Chris Fischetti. He won Moto number 1, so a big smile on his face because Tom Bonaci does not factor into the world title.
The rest of the pack behind Fischetti scrambling for positions. Now all Fischetti has to do is hang on to that #2 spot, and the world title will be his.
Well, this is great vindication for Tom Bonaci and the rest of his team, Chuck. A 15th place for him is not where he usually is.
Well, we did a little investigating in between motos, and I found out from the West Coast pit that a water line had come loose on Tom's boat between the time that they brought it off the beach and they brought it to the starting line, and water squirting into the hull of the boat flooded out the carburetors, and that was causing Tom's problems all the time.
Well, this is good as first place for Chris Fischetti. Tom Bonaci's 15th really drops him out of the picture. Chris Fischetti sits in second. If he can hold it together, he will claim the 1996 world title. But going back to the start, the bomber found all that power he lost in Moto 1.
Not only that, but take a look at the middle of this pack. The carnage going on in the middle, boats banging and off of rails. Fischetti's kind of stuck back in the middle. Then he's able to sneak out into second. But look at this launch Bonaci gets. The West Coast team got that engine prepared. Glenn Perry, the guys at Skat Track, put the proper prop in that thing, and it just hooked up and gone.
After a start like that, we might have to start calling him Tom the Catapult Bonaci. He timed that thing perfectly, and he now sits in first place in Moto number 2.
Wouldn't it be great to check reaction time from the time that rubber band snapped till he took off that starting line? Great out in front.
And the boat sounds a little bit different than it did in Moto number 1 as well.
On and off the gas, you can hear Tom working at that engine, working to perfection.
And it's nice to have our cameraman back in the hunt of things. Tom Bonaci, our current leader in Moto number 2, Pro Runabout in second place. Chris Fischetti out of Lake Havasu City, Arizona. He was our winner in Moto number 1. Back in the pack is Victor Sheldon out of Vista, California on the Kawasaki, Team Kawasaki. And in fourth, it's Derek Punchard.
Punchard aboard the West Coast Sea-Doo out of Scarborough, Ontario, Canada, got a 6th place finish in Moto number 1. So if he can hang on to this position, he could be in the top 5.
Back to Victor Sheldon. He's got a 1 on his plate. He is the 1995 National Pro Runabout Champion. And for Victor, it wasn't the greatest year for him, looking to redeem himself here at Lake Havasu.
Sheldon pulled down an 8th place finish in Moto number 1, so he could possibly be in contention for a top 5 finish also.
Victor Sheldon's teammate Minoru Kanamori, the defending world champion in runabout, 2-time defending world champion. He currently sits in 8th place. Not his day today, and the momentum just wasn't on his side coming off of Jet Jam, the 10th stop of the National Tour. Ahead of Minoru Kanamori in 7th place, Chris MacCluggage, who's already had a big day, taking home the world title in the sport class. He sits in 7th on board the ProTech Yamaha.
MacCluggage had a 2nd place finish in Moto 1 due to that exhaust brake 50 yards from the finish line.
While Chris MacCluggage doubles up in both Pro Sport and runabout, still other runabout riders go for the 1200 class. The Pro Runabout 1200 class began early in the day with Moto number 1, and from the start, good things were happening for Team Polaris. With 3 boats entered in the final, they would come out of lap 1 in 1st and 2nd. Boat 211 Frank Romero, followed by 321 Jeff Prieur. It was a complete runaway for Romero, and once out in front, he never looked back, setting himself up for a possible world title victory after a disappointing 2nd place finish on the National Tour. Jeff Prieur, on the other end, had no such luck. Pressed continually by boat number 3, Destin Farthing, Jeff would find himself in the water just a lap before the finish. 2nd place would go to Farthing, and Kawasaki rider Rob Flores would finish in 3rd.
Moto number 2 belonged to Victor Sheldon from start to finish. His 5th place in Moto number 1 still made him an overall contender. Romero and Farthing, however, didn't see it that way, as they fought over the 2nd place slot. If ever there was a man on a mission, it was Frank Romero and Team Polaris, and they would not be denied this day in the sun.
Oh yeah, the whole Nationals, 5 second places. It was pulling everybody's hair out. They did their homework for the month we had off. We won the world title, and it's taken me 10 years to get there, but I'm glad I did it on a Polaris, and that's Polaris's first, but not its last.
Talk about Team Polaris. They really had a resurgence. It seemed like around Des Moines, Iowa, things just started turning around, and you guys gave it a big push.
Yeah, really, we were running a little low on horsepower, and we decided it was time to step it up because Kawasaki had just a little tiny edge on us. They've been running 1200s. We've been running a little light. We decided to come with the real horsepower. Now we proved it. We're number 1.
Talk about what the future means for you guys. World title now opens up some big doors. Will the team come back intact next year for the national title? And you will definitely be back, I guess, to defend your world title.
Absolutely. Darren told me that no pressure here at the finals, so just go out there and do the best you can. I think I've proven myself. I think we're going to see some interesting moves throughout the whole industry, and I think you're going to see us win an awful lot of races next year.
Frank Romero will be on a Polaris next year.
Absolutely, number 1!
Final results look like this. Frank Romero, followed by Victor Sheldon, Destin Farthing, Brent Flambeers, and Jeff Prieur. Congratulations to Frank Romero on winning his world title in the 1200 class. When we come back, if the Flying Fish can hold on, he will take home the runabout world title. Stay with us.
Kind of assess for me Team Polaris coming off the 96 National Tour and how you equate that to the 1996 World Finals and how you figure Polaris is going to come out or can come out.
Well, we had a kind of a tough start in the National Tour, and you know, the team worked really hard to get back on top of things. We had some problems early on and ended up missing one of the Nationals, but we regrouped and we steadily gained improvements, got some more speed, handling's coming around, and riders got some more time on their boats. That was kind of our main stall in the beginning of the season, was our guys just didn't have enough time, seat time wise, and now that they're getting a little more accustomed, we started getting some front finishes, and you know, our guys are riding 2 classes, so you're getting a lot more seat time, and it seems to be working out right now.
Welcome back to Lake Havasu City, Arizona. We are in the midst of Moto number 2 Pro Runabout. Current standings, Tom Bonaci is out in front, and Chris Fischetti is in 2nd. If Fischetti can hold on to this, he will claim the world title. In 3rd, it's Victor Sheldon, Hunchard in 4th, and Bill Pointer in 5th, and now he is in good position to take 2nd overall, Chuck.
Pointer is making a move up through the pack. He is right now in a great position to take 2nd overall.
But the man of the hour in this moto, it's Tom Bonaci, boat number 5, the West Coast Performance Sea-Doo out of Costa Mesa, California, also doubling as our West Coast Sea-Doo water cameraman.
That West Coast Sea-Doo sounding so sweet as Tom heads off down the backstretch. These boats capable of running in the high 60-mile-per-hour range in good, clean conditions with his short backstretch and choppy conditions. Tom's boat probably running in the mid-50s. Todd, how would you like to be out there traveling like that?
Well, if I had a mechanic like Chris Fischetti's, it wouldn't be too bad. A lot of the credit, Chuck, has got to go to Chris's dad, Pops Fischetti, who's making this all possible.
Rob Pop Fischetti has been working on this boat for years and years and years. Former IndyCar mechanic, brought a lot of that technology over with him, and he's got that rocket ship racing Sea-Doo just flying.
Back in the pack, position number 6, Nicolas Rius. Now, Nicolas Rius is an interesting story. Came over from the ski division where he won a world title and a national title. Making his move here in the runabout class. Things haven't gone as smoothly as they thought, but he is a competitor. Chris MacCluggage sits in 7th.
Speaking of Chris MacCluggage and Nicolas Rius in the same breath, Todd, an interesting history between these two a couple years ago in the ski division. Everyone thought that Chris MacCluggage had claimed the world championship, but a tiebreaker gave the world championship in the ski division to Nicolas Rius, and here they've got a race going down the backstretch.
Nicolas Rius on the inside, Chris MacCluggage on the outside, making a move, trying to pick up that 6th place position, comes to the inside, and they split course.
It'll be interesting to see how it comes out at the bottom. Chris MacCluggage went to the inside, kind of forced into that position. Nicolas Rius on the outside, make their way down the front straightaway. Nicolas Rius able to hold the position.
So Rius stays in 6th, MacCluggage stays in 7th, and they've got another lap to try it all over again. And when we talk about experience, Nicolas Rius does have experience out here. He has 2 world titles in the ski division and a national title. The year Chris MacCluggage was thought to be unbeatable.
Well, Nicolas Rius not only has those 2 titles as he's come here in the World Championship and the Bud Jetsport Tour, but a multi-time champion over in Europe. Actually became the person to beat. He was the Jeff Jacobs of Europe. No one over there could beat Nicolas Rius. He was the top of his game. Came over here to America touted as a very, very fine competitor and has shown himself to be a great competitor as he was able to move right in the ranks with those other riders. Kind of had to pay his dues in the beginning, but he was able to move up.
Nicolas Rius has ridden for Big Red Racing and R&D Racing. He finds himself in Big Red feeling very good about things, but there was a time back in 1992 where he and that man, Chris Fischetti, did not get along too well.
Let's take a look back in the old memory banks, and on the yellow boat is Rius, the white boat is Fischetti, and watch what's going to happen as they near this buoy. They come together, and it's going to be very costly for Fischetti. He was going for the world championship. They had to pull the boat up on the beach. They lift the engine cover off, and Fischetti, to his disappointment, sees a spark plug caps come off. They quickly put the cap back on, shoved the boat back in the water. Fischetti went on, but the title was gone.
Well, Chris Fischetti exacting revenge today, a few years later, and in a different class. He is on his way to a world title. Tom Bonaci continues to lead Moto number 2 in the runabout class. And for Bonaci, this is a nice way to end the season, but I'm sure he'd like to have that start in Moto number 1 back.
Oh, but for a waterline in Moto number 1, coming loose, throwing water into the carburetors. That killed his chances for a world championship. It's got to be disappointing, but to win a moto at the World Finals is definitely still an exciting fact.
Tom Bonaci brings it around, and he will lead the pack of Moto number 2 into the final lap as the white flag comes out. Tom Bonaci is our leader in Moto 2, but Chris Fischetti is in prime position to take home a world title here at Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and he's got to be thinking, one more lap, Pops. I hope this thing holds together.
At this point in the race, after 17 laps, you're starting to hear all the noises in the world this boat could make. You're wondering if everything is going to hold together. Can it make it? He remembers what happened to MacCluggage just 50 yards from the finish line. His boat broke in Moto number 1. Can my boat make it? A world championship is on the line.
Tom Bonaci, boat number 5, the West Coast Prep Sea-Doo. He will bring it around into the split section of the course, and he will opt for the outside on this final lap of Moto number 2 in the Pro Runabout class. Tom Bonaci, a tough day for him. I know he'd like to have Moto number 1 back. This is a nice way to end it. He picks up the victory here at Lake Havasu City, Arizona. A very happy young man indeed. In second place in the new world champion, boat number 300, Chris the Flying Fish Fischetti. But right now, Tom Bonaci is the man of the hour. He takes home the win, a very happy man indeed. And a lot of credit goes to the rest of the West Coast team. His tuner right there, Kel Carruthers, who is a master of two-stroke tuners. He does a great job. A nice victory for them. We go back to the start, and it all started with this tremendous shot. The top of your screen, Tom Bonaci, far and away the whole shot winner on that one. The final results for Moto number 2 in the 785 runabout class look like this. Tom Bonaci wins, followed by Fischetti, Sheldon, Punchard, and Bill Pointer. Let's go down to the pits where Chuck is standing by with our winner.
Tom, it's a bittersweet way, man. You get the Moto win. First Moto was a nightmare for you, I know, but you got to be sweet redemption to get the Moto 2 win.
Yeah, I mean, the first Moto was pretty frustrating. He didn't get off the line. He had some problems. Ended up, it was like a $1 hose that cost me from racing that race. But it's sweet to come back and whole shot from the outside and win the final race of the year. You know, even though Fischetti won the championship, I won the last race, so that's cool. He rode. My hats off to Chris and Pops. They really got their Sea-Doo tuned really well. And my guys too, the West Coast guys, they worked really hard for this race, and I can't thank Sea-Doo enough for putting me on a good boat. That's what it takes out here. The boats is like 80% of the race. If you could get a good boat underneath you, you definitely could win races.
Tommy Bonaci gets the final win of the year, gets to go home at least with a smile on his face, and you bet you'll see this man back next year.
Thank you, Chuck, and congratulations to Tom Bonaci. As the fans continue to pour out of the stands, when we come back, we will talk to the new crowned world champion. Stay with us.
Well, we went into this race with quite a book of information from what we learned on the 10-race tour. We had 2 great tour stops, and Richland was a lot like this, which we won. Built all new boats to knock a little weight off, get some rigidity up in the hulls. We got a little bit of power additionally from what we had in Richland, and came down here and spent a lot of time tuning it in, trying different jetting, trying radical different stuff, but we all came back to the same base setting that got us such good results the second half of the tour.
The Skat Track World Finals have been brought to you by Skat Track, the impeller experts, and by West Coast Performance Products, better by design. Welcome back to Lake Havasu City, Arizona, and the conclusion of the 1996 IJSBA Skat Track World Finals presented by West Coast Performance Products. Todd Harris along with Chuck Kuntz, and the overall results in the runabout class, it's Fischetti, Pointer, MacCluggage, Punchard, and Victor Sheldon. Let's go down to Chuck Kuntz, who is standing by with our new winner.
Chris, this has been a long time in the coming. This is the second world championship, the first one on the runabouts.
Yes, I'm pretty stoked. My Sea-Doo factory pipe, Solas, Maxima, Mobies, MSD, no fear. Sea-Doo XP worked really good, and this is definitely a Kodak moment for the World Championship, and I'm really happy.
The boat ran excellently, worked real hard. Pops did a great job on it. Just talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I was dogging him. I didn't want to have any trouble or run into him or miss a buoy or do anything that would have cost me the overall. I pushed him at first on the couple first laps and pushed him towards the end, and I was just waiting for that checker. So I was hoping he wasn't going to do anything funny in front of me and take me out too. So the overall is the most important thing. I've won 2 moto. That's not bad.
Todd, we got the winner. We got the man. We'll see you upstairs. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Chuck, and congratulations to Chris, the Flying Fish Fischetti, on his victory here at Lake Havasu City, Arizona. That concludes the 1996 IJSBA Skat Track World Finals. For Chuck Kuntz, I'm Todd Harris. We'll see you next time right here on ESPN.